Welcome back, nerdies. So glad to introduce you back to our previous host, Travis. How are you doing, Travis?
Hello, friends. Welcome to the final stages of 2020.
Yeah, we're only a few days away. It's Tuesday right now. We're recording. We want to make this a jam-packed podcast for you, and mainly focused around NFL Week 17 because there's a lot of playoff implications, a lot to go down. I got notes all over the place right here, but let's keep it loose. I know, So as you guys know, Travis and I are both Philadelphia Eagles fans. And unfortunately, they are the only team to not even have a chance of winning the NFC East, one of the worst divisions of all time. And how do you feel about that, Trav? Why don't you start off with your angst about Philly?
Yes, when we finally lost to the Jarrah girls down in Dallas, my buddy texted me. He's like, "Well, to put it in perspective, we just were the first team eliminated in historically horrible division. How does that make you feel?"
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel good to anyone who, I mean, there's worse teams out there for sure, like the Jags and
Hmm.
a whole
Hmm.
bunch of other,
Hmm.
bad franchises that have been there for years. But like for those people that don't understand what it means to be a Philadelphia fan just across the board, it's like if your team loses Sunday, you really don't get back into your groove until like Saturday, where you're just your whole week's depleted of just being, you know, in the dumps, angsty, whatnot. And so, it's pretty much just been that way all season long. So, you know, was there a runway up where you can kind of feel a little bit preparing yourself? I mean, I felt like I was sideswiped about like I don't know, like week 5 or something, where just you're
Hmm.
sitting at what were we, like 2 or
Two and
1 or
one.
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
so it was ridiculous. So it's like at that point you're like, okay, Carson's something else. The playbook's god awful. Now comes the Jalen calls, and at the end of the day, it's like, for a person like me, I want to call up the Better Business Bureau and report the Eagles front office for how they've treated their employees and have ran this business. It is remarkably bad when you look at that we were in the Super Bowl 3 years ago, and now we're
Yeah.
here with yet another controversy in the quarterback position. $70 million of cap space that we have to find a way to kind of pay off. Aging line, everyone's consistently hurt, and
Well, there you go.
I I
It
mean,
starts with the offensive line. It always starts with the offensive line, and this team's like depleted of injuries time after time after time. You got Jason Peters can't stay healthy. You got Lane Johnson can't stay healthy, and they have Pro Bowlers all over the line that just can't make it happen. And
right.
yeah, I'm with you there. Seeing Jalen Hurts is fun. Like he gave you a little spark, but I feel it's almost worse to have hope and you're almost in there and like, okay, our division's so bad that the Giants still have a chance with what,
Yeah,
like 5 wins to win the
and no
NFC
Saquon
East.
Barkley.
Yeah.
Saquon
Destroyed
Barkley
my
list
fantasy
somehow.
team in week 2.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's I feel I'd rather be a Jets fan at this rate,
Oh
even
gosh,
though
don't say those words.
I know,
That's
I
You
know,
can't
but
take that back. You can't. That's on record now. You don't.
that's true. That is true. Definitely not true. I don't
Yeah,
believe
no,
that, but I'm just saying it's that bad.
it is
Where it's
bad.
like with the Jets, they could have easily got the number one pick and got one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen in Trevor
Yeah,
Lawrence.
the Jets don't even
And
know
then
how
all
to
of a
fail. It's
sudden,
it's
yeah,
unbelievable.
now they beat the Rams and the Browns, like two playoff teams. And
Yeah,
like, I don't trust Baker or Jared Goff, but still, like these are great teams for 2020. I was about
yeah,
to say
no,
great
and
organizations.
and
Horrible.
not to harp too much on our Eagles, but it's like silver lining. There's a few silver linings, right? Like Jordan Mailata looks like he can play the position. He'll have to gun it out with Dillard, and if that comes to pass, and we got a good backup there in Mailata, or if he gets the position, we got a backup on Dillard. Like cool. Jalen Hurts definitely going to be a quarterback in the NFL, and it looks like we could get a top 5 pick. Now I kind of caveat that with like I don't believe Howie can make a great choice. He hasn't been proven to make a great draft pick, but I feel like within the 5, if you're within the top 5 picks, unless you just do something bizarre, which cannot count that out. Um,
Absolutely,
then you're
especially
pretty
with
much
Harry
sitting somewhere
Roseman.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Just
I
as you,
mean, for me, I'm the guy that's trying to call for everyone except Carson to get fired because I believe that you stick with your talent until you figure out that talent's just not there anymore. So,
sure.
Howie, Doug, I think you get them out. You figure out if there's a new mind to come in, see if they can rework Carson and, just try to get a dude that doesn't try to be the smartest man in the room. Just go pick the dude that's like power ranked the highest and put some weapons around Carson. That's
If
how you
only
win.
they could do that. I mean, they can't get
Right.
Justin
It's asking
Jefferson.
too
You
much,
know, they
really.
got to go with Jalen Rieger. They're always going to mess up. Just as you said, our guy Rohan, college friend of mine who's been on podcast past 2 weeks, he is calling for Howie Roseman's job for the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. So we're
Mm-hmm.
definitely with you there. But nerdies, I know you don't want to hear about Philadelphia Eagles all day long.
No, you don't.
We have to give you the passion. That's who we are, and we're a podcast filled of Eagles
Yeah,
fans, and
that's
that's
right.
what we're going to give you. You
Now we're
come
going to
here
give
for
you
passion, and
our objective opinions on the rest of the NFL. Now that we're
absolutely.
wringed out like a rag with our despair.
Before we go to 2020, I want to bring you back to 2016. So
Mm.
all of a sudden this year, we had Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes fighting for this MVP race, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Patrick Mahomes seemed to have it in the bag a couple weeks ago, but I don't know what's going on, but they don't seem to be wanting to really, take advantage of their lead. They want to let leads slip to like the Falcons. And, I get it. You want to prove that, you could win at all cost and win those tight matchups and not blow everyone out. Because in the playoffs, you're not going to blow everyone out. But all of a sudden, the Buffalo Bills are soaring. They've won 8 of the last 9 games. All of a sudden, Josh Allen is now third in MVP race. But we all know, if we have to be honest, that it's between Aaron Rodgers and
Yeah, two
Patrick
studs.
Mahomes.
Two studs.
So just want to give you a few stats because I know, you guys come here for the numbers. That's who I am. Timmy Downs with the numbers. So Aaron Rodgers, historically one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Tom Brady's got the championships. Aaron Rodgers got the stats. He's all about touchdown to interception ratio. He's the only quarterback in NFL history to ever have multiple seasons of 40 plus touchdowns and less than 10 interceptions. He has the 3 best seasons for touchdown to interception ratio based on those 40 plus touchdown years. So we had 2020 this year. He only has 5 picks, and he already has 44 touchdowns with 4,000 yards. In 2011, when he won the MVP, he had 6 interceptions with 40 plus touchdowns. And in 2016, when Matt Ryan beat him for MVP, he had 7 interceptions with 40 plus touchdowns. Now remember that again. So we've never seen a quarterback in NFL history ever have 2 seasons of 40 plus touchdowns and less than 10 interceptions. This guy's got the 3 best seasons we've ever seen. Now, you're going to say the GOAT has to go to Tom Brady because, he's been linked up with Bill Belichick and they had a monster historic 20-year career. It's the first time with the Buffalo Bills, team I was just talking about, that they won 8 of the last 9 games. They won the AFC East for the first time in 2 decades. The Patriots have dominated the AFC East for our adult life, at least. And I want to hear your take. I gave the stats here. I want to hear your take, whether it's, do you feel Patrick Mahomes still has a shot to win MVP after, he really only has the lead with yards with 4,700 yards. But like I said, Matt Ryan won the MVP when he dominated every category except for touchdowns. And Aaron Rodgers had a historic season. So it doesn't just guarantee you that MVP race. But all of a sudden, Aaron Rodgers is now the favorite. He's at minus 370, just to give you all context, which so you have to bet $100, $370 to win $100. So you're basically losing money if you're going to bet on him today. But last week, of course, Mahomes had the clear advantage. I want to hear your perspective, Travis. Who do you think deserves MVP, and what are your thoughts just on Aaron Rodgers and his greatness?
Oh, the Aaron Rodgers' greatness, Iceman. I mean, just beyond reproach, beyond reproach. I think that there are a few quarterbacks that fall within your time growing up, your impressionable years, and then when there's the young years when you're a young sports fan, kid, you're kind of just engaged with the teams that you like. You kind of have your superstars that you enjoy also. But then you get into your more seasoned fandom when you're, high school going forward, 20s, whatever, where you really see, like you are invested into like league wide, career wide analysis and really like that. Aaron Rodgers is one of those people that people are going to wish they saw live. I mean, we can see whoever we want to now with recorded television and whatnot, but to
Hmm.
see this man in the, to see it, witness it with no 2020 retrospect around it. He's a phenomenal player. He's a phenomenal leader. And, when it comes down to the MVP results or the votes, I think it largely rests on the intangibles. One very big tangible, mind you, would be like the Super Bowl. Clearly, like if Mahomes wins it over Rodgers or vice versa, like that's a pretty big tangible thing that can sway the vote. Short of that, though, you look at the intangibles. You have Mahomes coming off of a Super Bowl season. He's the whiz kid. He's got Andy Reid. Looks like we have kind of a new partnership of the decade. See where it goes. But coming to the season, Aaron Rodgers had his backup drafted. Like they brought in his replacement, and it's largely, the big concern is like, okay, is this the swan song of Aaron Rodgers with the Green Bay Packers? Is this the end of an era, him at Lambeau Field? And to have that as your looming narrative and then come out here and play the way he's done at the age that he is in the conference that is, all the familiar faces are there, but it's still relative, it's still a very competitive conference when you have the New Orleans Saints and you have a really good year out of Russell Wilson also. And, Aaron Rodgers is making do with, Devontae Adams and a decent team, but it's not like he's got this racked up, offense like, say, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? Who've
Hmm.
got the,
Hmm.
the gems and everything like that, the flashy players. So, I think that if you're looking at the intangibles, you kind of say, all right, well, we've got that. And then we've got Mahomes, who's, evidence is on the field. But he's set in his job. There's no like time. He just got the big money contract. Like there's no, this is his heyday. This is the golden years of Patrick Mahomes. There's nothing on his mind or his shoulders besides being like, can I do it again?
Hmm.
So when I think of like, okay, Aaron Rodgers been in the league, all of his prerequisites, and then to come into a year that is not only, where his backup is on the team now, the new future is ahead, but also in this bizarre pandemic COVID scenario, and then just playing like this. I'm a sucker for narrative. I'm a sucker for that type of perseverance. So I would be happy to see Aaron Rodgers get the MVP at the end of the year.
Yeah. Same here. It would be his third MVP, and he only got 14 votes back in 2017, where Matt Ryan finished first with 24, and then Tom Brady, who missed the first 4 games due to suspension,
Yeah.
you forget that, he got 20 votes. And so at the end of the day, Matt Ryan that year had more sustained greatness throughout
Mm-hmm.
the season, and Aaron Rodgers started off the year struggling. They were 4-6 to start the season, but he finished the last 7 weeks with 18 touchdowns and 0 picks. So time after time, I'm always going to argue with people where it's like, I want to project Patrick Mahomes to be the greatest quarterback of all time, just because
Mm-hmm.
I like to predict something and then root for
Yeah.
its success, whether it's, so I'm okay being wrong, but as long as this kid's healthy, I mean, he's the greatest quarterback in our game today. And, if I have to list the top 5 quarterbacks that I want for the next 10 years, I got Mahomes first. I got Josh Allen second. I got Justin Herbert third, who's had an unbelievable rookie
Mm-hmm.
year.
They found a
And
good
then
quarterback over there. Yep.
Deshaun Watson, if he could get out of Houston with J.J. Watt, I think he's one of the greatest things since,
Yeah.
as Dabo Sweeney says, since Michael Jordan of football. And then Tua Tagovailoa for me, like that kid's special. If he could do something, I don't know. I feel his hip injury still got some issues. And he just this year he's not running a lot. He's not throwing
Mm-hmm.
deep. He's kind of just checking it down. And Ryan Fitzmagic is sitting there like getting his face mask pulled, throwing no look passes. Like what an unbelievable story that is. Like week 17
coming out of the piss, just
yeah, right. Dude, I mean, if I gotta have a backup quarterback, that guy's number one for life. Like,
yeah, seriously.
there's nobody will
Probably the
motivate you.
probably the most like legendary journeyman
Career?
backup quarterback is Fitzmagic. Just
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
a verb
super
now.
special.
Now
Yep.
one quarterback that was left out, that was
Okay.
big name last year is Lamar.
Yeah. But going into this season, like we said last time we spoke to do our NFL preview, they were projected to win 16 games. They were
Hmm.
favored in every single game. So I don't know. I guess I'm still have some question marks on it. Like, can defenses program to stop him? Is he more of just a rushing quarterback? Can he
Hmm.
be precise? He has special talent for sure.
Hmm.
And you could easily put him over Tua, but I don't know. I see something special with Tua.
Hmm.
He has not exactly exploded, but I think the hip injury has held him back. And when it comes to trying to plan for an offense, if you could get the Miami Dolphins to surprise, I think that's probably it. Like going into the season, I thought the Ravens would be amazing, and I thought the Dolphins would be like, 8-8. And all of a sudden, like the Dolphins are a pretty solid team. They got a good chance
Yeah,
of making the playoffs, and the Ravens are literally in the same exact position. I think they're both 10-5,
they're
if I'm
both
not
10 and
wrong.
5.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. We had four teams that are 10-5. We had Tennessee,
Yep.
Miami, Baltimore, and then the Cleveland Browns had just lost to the New York Jets. Oh man, that's wild there. So, maybe it is a recency bias for me, but I was putting together a list and you're right. You would take Lamar over Tua, like that's how you feel.
I because if Koki's listening to this, also a fellow
Hmm. Hmm.
nerdy contributor, I'm just gonna say that I would take Lamar because I think our friendship largely hinges on me backing Lamar Jackson for his benefit.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'll put it out there. I don't watch a whole lot of Miami games. I thought, what Tua did in with Alabama was awesome. So that's kind of like largely what I'm basing myself off of. And then kind of your punditry like highlights and being like, look at this kid. So it's like great. For me, I the quarterback spectrum, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
You've got kind of the pocket passers that largely get eaten up. Like I'm looking at the Chicago Bears, right? Like Trubisky and Foles, like those dudes can't, they're your pocket passing quarterbacks. And then you kind of
Definitely.
opposite side of the spectrum, you have Lamar and you've got Murray, who's awesome. Murray's legit. And then,
Oh yeah.
and then Jalen Hurts is kind of like, is he more or less those guys? Is he kind of in the center? I mean, he does run, he's a smart runner, and it's kind of interesting
Hmm.
to see where like a lot of what's successful, like the major quarterbacks outside of your Drew Breeses, your old guard, the Rodgers, the Breezes, the Brady's. Um, if you look like Allen, even if you look at Daniel Jones in New York, like these are guys that can pull off leg runs, but
Hmm.
they're not always looking to do that, but they will hurt you with your legs. Carson Wentz was able to do this back in the day also. Are they more dynamic because they're not, I'm not going to say that one trick pony is for a running quarterback to run. Um,
Hmm.
but we're seeing now. Look, this what makes Lamar with the asterisks is that we've got 3 seasons of film on Lamar Jackson playing high quality football, and he's still pretty hard to stop. We'll see kind of with Jalen Hurts is like, okay, yeah, he might not start next, year or whatever have you, but can you kind of battle plan for these running quarterbacks a little bit better? And because they're not the majority, right? Like you think you can count all the really good running quarterbacks and they come to mind pretty, quickly. You got like Michael Vick, who really started it off, right? And you all the way now to Lamar Jackson, and you kind of like under these cool dynamic running quarterbacks, you know, plant themselves in seasons and you remember them for what they are. But then you've got these middle ground guys that can hit you with a run, but they're not dependent on it. And I think it makes them, a slightly more dynamic quarterback, which is why I think we're seeing an interesting season out of the likes of a Justin Herbert, out of the likes of an Allen and a Jones, and
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know you. So would
I
I
agree with
take?
you.
Go ahead. Yep, no, go ahead.
No, no, no. I hear what you're saying there. So you bring up two great names to challenge Tua Tagovailoa. Like Tua's definitely in that fifth spot. I was struggling. I was trying to get five, but who cares? It could be top seven. And that's Kyler Murray and
Mm-hmm.
Lamar Jackson, just as you're mentioning. But I see Kyler this year, and he's struggling with a lower leg injury. We don't even know if he's going to play in this matchup. He's facing off in a must-win game. Where is he here versus the Rams? Like that could be a loser leaves town matchup if the Bears happen to beat the
Mm-hmm.
Packers, which I don't know. The Packers are still fighting for that number one seed. And I see Aaron Rodgers trying to put on a little icing onto the MVP race. So I don't really see the Bears winning because the Bears have looked good. I'll stick with the Lamar to Kyler ratio. But just to talk about Trubisky for a second. Trubisky all of a sudden the past 4 weeks has scored 30 plus points, and after getting benched, after starting the season off 3-0, he's looked pretty good, but he's faced some shit teams, if I have to be honest with you. I think he's faced like Jaguars, Texans, Lions, like some really Minnesota as well, some like
Right.
awful defenses. So when you come to the Green Bay Packers, a team that could be a Super Bowl champion, if it's not for the Chiefs or the Bills, maybe, I see the Packers really dominating this performance in Week
Hmm.
17 just to
Yeah.
go into the playoffs. Mahomes is sitting on the bench. He's got Chad Henne starting. So I see the Packers winning that game handedly to make sure that Aaron Rodgers, gets another 4 touchdowns. Maybe Devontae Adams gets 20 TDs. Right now he's at 17, and he's having like a historic
It's
season
a
that
monster. Yeah.
we haven't seen a guy like him since Randy Moss. Literally, there's been only one other guy to get 17 plus touchdowns and whatever the yards he's got. But when it comes to Kyler, Tua, Lamar Jackson, I'm worried about consistency. If I have to bet on somebody for 10 years, I feel Tua has more upside. Here's a guy that got Jalen Hurts out of town, a guy that obviously has impressed you as an Eagles fan. And Kyler Murray has such inconsistency this year based on health. And if his leg's not feeling good, he's not running lately. It's like this team can't make it work, and he just like hopes and prays that DeAndre Hopkins is going to make a spectacular catch, which more often than
Not
not
a
he
bad
will.
bet, right? Yeah.
Not at all, not at all. But I don't want to bet on luck. I'd rather bet on more consistency. And Tua has been special since he was like 12.
Right. Yeah.
Lamar popped and shined in Louisville a little bit, but people have questioned him. So I think my bet's on Tua, but Koki, if you feel Lamar's the guy, I hear you there. That's what sports is about.
He
We could
does.
debate
I
that
can
all
hear
day.
him from Los Angeles right now screaming at it. Now let's talk about bets. Okay. And I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
the hardest bet right now, if you were to put money down, is who's walking away with the NFC East
Yes.
division. All right. And we've got the
Yes.
quintessential, season finale, Birds versus the team, and then the boys versus the Giants. Uh,
The
you
team,
know, the
the
team.
football team, a
Now this is
temporary name that's lasted
right.
months.
This is a quintessential Eagles win. I mean, I think that this is like a pride win, and we always win Pride Bowls. It means
Yeah.
obviously nothing to us, but then and the fact that I just think that I
I
think
mean,
that we'll be able to pay. It's at home. I think it's okay.
NBC flexed this to Sunday Night Football.
I
We got
know.
amazing games here. I mean, they have one bye week right now, so the Chiefs are locked into that number 1 seed, and the Packers are fighting. If they beat the Bears, they'll get that number 1 seed as well. And so we're gonna have for the first time 7 teams that have an opportunity to make the playoffs here. So
Mhm.
it's given us, similar to the playing game with baseball and NBA, it's given us more exciting matchups in Week 17. So we got a lot to talk about
Yeah.
today.
So then we got the
So,
Cowboys and the Giants, though.
but
I
yeah,
mean, the one thing about the Cowboys is pretty. If anyone watched the game the other on Sunday, it's like if you run against this team, you'll win against this team, and I don't feel like the Giants are going to make that mistake. And I think they're going to run against the Cowboys. And,
yeah.
that Giants defense ain't too bad. So I think they'll be able to stop, the pass game, rush game, whatever they're going to throw at them. So do you think that that's going to tip the scales, and who do you think's walking away with this division?
Well, if we have to go based on the numbers, I love my numbers. ESPN has a good stat. Their football power index, their FPI ratio, they have Washington as a 60% favorite to win the division.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's mainly based on their defense, the one of the greatest defenses in the game. And they just got Dwayne Haskins out of town for going to a strip club and jeopardizing his team's health. And at a time like 2020, where COVID's such a apparent issue, where we start our podcast a few months ago on just wear a mask, so
That's right.
to
Just
to to
fucking wear a
go
mask.
to just go to a strip club and or whatever it was. I think his girlfriend had some strippers over or something. I don't know. Just that's just a bad look. And Ron Rivera's a no joke, no nonsense guy. He's gonna get that guy out of town. He didn't want to
Riverboat
deal.
Ron, don't do that. No, he don't.
Nah, he didn't want to deal with Cam Newton, so he's not gonna deal with Dwayne Haskins being a player like that. So I don't know. I believe I do agree with ESPN. So they got 60% win percentage to make the playoffs, to get that number 4 seed, to play the Bucks. Inevitably, the Bucks, by the way, have an 84% chance to get that 5 seed. So whoever gets that 5 seed is going to play the NFC least. And you got the Giants at a 24% clip to win the division, and then you got Cowboys at 16.
Yeah.
So honestly, though, when the Eagles started struggling and I was thinking of who's going to win the division, my bet was on the Giants based on coaching and defense. And then all of a sudden, Ron Rivera and that Washington Redskins defense, or sorry, football team defense showed up and they proved us wrong. So I don't know if the quarterback really matters. They got this guy like Heineken or
Yeah.
whatever, sponsored by your good old Michelob Heineken here. I'm just blown away why that's a Sunday night football game, but I guess it's based on, who wins the NFC East is a really big matchup. It's
Yeah.
important. It's important at least. So I don't know. If I have to get a dark horse, I'll go with the Giants as well. I do agree with you there.
Yeah. Well, the scenarios here. So let's look at Dallas. Dallas has to win, and Washington has to lose or tie, or Dallas has to tie and Washington has to lose. That's how they walk away with that. New York, Washington, Giants have to win. Washington loses. Pretty simple there. And then for Washington to clinch, they got to win, or they got to have Dallas tie or loss. So, it is kind of interesting to see.
Just like you're
these
saying,
teams. It's like the East is decided at the 8:00 kickoff, and I think that's kind of exciting.
That's true, and it's a division that we didn't know who was going to win the whole year. It went from Eagles to Cowboys to Reds to football team to Giants and flip flop all over the place. But to be honest, though, my main question is Tom Brady really going to lose to any of these teams, no matter how good these defenses are? Like, I know Mike Evans was just force fed to get that 1,000 yard player bonus, but they got studs all over, and Godwin seems healthy enough, and Gronk's a playoff guy. And you think Tom Brady's really going to let the Giants beat him again? Maybe, but I think it would be the most exciting. I didn't even think of that. I think it would be the most exciting for Giants fans just to, get a little revenge against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers.
Mm-hmm. No, you ain't wrong. I mean, the narrative's certainly there to behold. I want to look up Tom Brady's numbers because the guy's clicking here at the end of the season. A lot of people were wondering how is this all going to work out. They were clearly the most fascinating team to watch in the offseason with just the signing of Brady in the beginning, and then all of a sudden it was like the beginning of the Mighty Ducks. He calls up Gronk, the whistle, and all of a
And
sudden,
Fournette, yeah,
right, and
the
all of a
fancy
sudden
team.
they're
And
all
then
in Tampa Bay.
Antonio Brown's their like third receiver, and they got Scotty Miller, the perfect Brady wide receiver, just sprinkling in. That's a fantasy team if I've ever seen one. But I'm excited. That's an exciting matchup there.
It
I
is an
would.
exciting matchup.
Let's root for the Giants, man. Like, I don't know. Can I root for the Giants? No, I really can't. But if the Eagles win, just root for the Eagles. I want the Eagles to win regardless. I don't care what happens. I'm not a guy to root for a better draft pick. I feel if you're a true fan, and I'm typically not much of a fan with most teams, but when it comes to the Eagles, that was like my first team since I was like 7. So that's been decades of fanatic fanhood, just as you're saying, like you live, you breathe, you die, and all of a sudden it takes you 6 days to recover from a loss versus the Cowboys. So we're still not there right now. I'll be honest, I'm still severely disappointed in this team. Like you're saying, like, yeah, all they gotta do is run, and they got Jalen Hurts, and they got Miles Sanders, they got, they got what it takes. Like all of a sudden, every other week they're able to run the ball. But I don't want to talk too much about those.
Let's look at Tommy here.
Eagles.
So Tommy, this year alone, he's got 36 touchdowns. So I mean, that's
solid.
It's pretty solid. I mean, last year he had 24, year before that 29, 17. He had 32. I'm pretty sure like half of those came in the Super Bowl. And then he's sitting right there. His high.
No, that's probably regular season numbers, man. But I know you're just joking.
So I mean, like, look, he's hitting his stride. The dude lives for the playoffs. Like, he loves being the, like, let's go under. Not really under. He never was the underdog, but he wants to be, the dude with the saber going forward, leading the charge. I think he loves being being down there. I think he's going to approach it with an intensity. And I think you should never undercount the fact that can he go do it with 2 people? Like. Can he do what Peyton did? Change the team go and win a Super Bowl. Like, that's pretty cool. I think a lot of quarterbacks would like to be in that club, and Tom just wants to add another ring to his finger, and this time he wants to have a big old flag on it, and I can appreciate that. So, I think he will be exciting if he gets in. I think you can't obviously discount Tom Brady being in the playoffs.
Never.
I think that if we're looking at the playoff picture, look, I'm going to say here are my dark horses in the playoffs as it looks right now. Okay. So you got the
Okay.
first round buys with the Chiefs and the Green Bay Packers. My dark horses, I'm looking at the Seattle Seahawks causing a ruckus. I think that they're at least good for a first round win, and that could completely change up how the playoffs are looking at, and then the AFC, you know, I think Pittsburgh is still that's a defense. I truly believe that defense wins championships. That's probably the best defense in the league. So I'm going to ride high on the fact that Pittsburgh gets in there, and I would not be counting those boys out. I think that they want to win. I think that they've got a little bit more oomph with their step now. They got brought down to earth a little bit after they lost to who was it? The Bengals, I think, ruined their perfect season or something like that. And so, I think that, hey, if there's a team, because that team, watching them, I was up in Pittsburgh twice this year, so I got to watch a little bit of their games while I got to, finish the Eagles. And that's a good team. That's a really good defense. And I think that if they've got the opportunity to solidify that defensive stance in the playoffs, then, I'm looking at the quarterbacks here that can destroy them. Like, I don't think Baker's going to be able to do that. Josh Allen could really put his career in the next level if he can do that in the playoffs. Lamar's kind of cursed in the playoffs. It seems like he's kind of got that spell. Tua could put his name on the map in the playoffs, and then, Tennessee, I think, actually is a dark horse too, because they got up there and ranked. They're probably hungry to get up there again. Let's see if they've got the oomph to be in there. 10-5 team. They're still relying on that run. I don't know if Tannehill's really going to reach that summit. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this Pittsburgh Steelers team, and I'm saying if there's a team that's going to, knock off Kansas City and get onto this thing, it could certainly be them.
Yeah, you got to go with quarterback, offensive line, and defense. Defense wins championships, and we'll say that time after time after time. But for me, 2020 was a year where I thought with no like fans, home field advantage wasn't really going to be a thing. But you actually have like historically great teams, and the Packers and the Seahawks in the NFC, and then the Chiefs, Steelers, and Bills in the AFC. Those were five of the best home teams this season. All of them only lost one game at home. So you have them all the way up on the rankings too. You have the Seahawks, 68% chance to get the third seed. Green Bay Packers, 80% chance to get the first seed. And then in the AFC, we got the Steelers with an 80% chance to get the third seed, and then the Bills with a 80% get the second seed. So, and then Chiefs, sorry, locked in at first, as we've already talked about. So I see those being the five teams that are going to compete for the championship. I don't really see anybody else really fighting. If I got to go with a dark horse, maybe Tennessee, but that defense has been trash, and Derrick Henry is not reliable enough to, make the Super Bowl. I thought last year they could make it, and they were that dark horse team. So who knows? Ryan Tannehill took another step. AJ Brown's absolutely unbelievable. He's like the DK Metcalf of the AFC. Where it's just such ferocious power, strength, and speed. And I've just never seen an athlete like these guys. I can't imagine what it's going to be like in 2025, but these guys seem bigger, stronger, faster than I've ever imagined. I would not want to play football when I was 10. I was like, hell no. 15, absolutely not. Every single year, less percentage I'll ever play football. So it's a sport that I love to watch, but I cannot imagine actually going out there, putting on the pads, and sacrificing concussions. So I give these guys a ton of credit there. But I love to see athletes. I love to see greatness. I love to see special magic. And you got to go with the quarterbacks: Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Big Ben Roethlisberger. Like Ben, if you will, stick with the Steelers. So they started 11-0. I think the Bengals. I think you are right. I think the Bengals were the team to destroy them. But I know that was like one of the biggest upsets of all time. Them and the Jets that week. It was like the first time since like 1973 that like two 14+ point underdogs lost or won. Yeah, the underdogs won. Exactly. So, 2020 is bringing us some wild times. So you never know. Maybe a team's going to get 1 or 2 wins, but same as you're saying with Josh Allen, they do concern me because he's just kind of young with it. But they just have such an explosive offense. I can't deny this team. They do make me feel like a little bit of like a Houston Rockets feel, where it's like, is Josh Allen really ready?
Mhm.
Is he the James Harden of the NFL? Same with the Ravens. Who is the Houston Rockets of the NFL right now? I don't know. I
Yeah, close but no cigar type teams.
Yeah, exactly. Are you going to go, they're finishing the season with an amazing record. They won 8 of the last 9 games. And the only game they lost was the Hail Murray pass from, Kyler Murray to DeAndre Hopkins,
Hmm.
which you can't stop that. It's just, that's luck. But that happens. Just like the Kawhi Leonard shot versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Sorry, Trav, but it happens,
It
and
happens.
luck is going to be a part of it. And at the end of the day, if I'm going to bet on anybody, I'm not betting on luck. I'm betting on consistency. But the Giants have proven in the past that all you need is to start, finish the
No.
season hot. So the Chiefs worry me in that way. This is a team that has the best quarterback in the game, the best tight end in the game, and the best wide receiver in the game, probably the best head coach, at least in the playoffs. Like Bill
Hmm.
Belichick's not going to make it for the first time in 2 decades.
It's crazy.
So
Yep.
I
Yes,
see,
I'm right
yeah,
there with you. I
go.
see. I see. There, like when you the thing that the Chiefs have on their side is they have poise. Yes, they have a really young, um, what's a better word than exciting? It's very they have a young, emotional, charismatic. That's the word.
Mhm,
Charismatic
mhm.
players on their team, right? Mahomes probably being, I wouldn't say Mahomes leading it. I'd probably say that Travis Kelsey is leading that charisma.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. We know how the
great,
Kelsey boys run.
yeah, great play. Um, and so I think what you have though is that it's kind of like all right, follow me here. It's kind of like the Ninja Turtles, all right? You've got the turtles, but behind them they have Master Skeeter, right?
The Emperor, yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
who Andy Reid is. And Andy Reid is so seasoned. And the only thing that the only person that can get in Andy Reid's way is Andy
It's
Reid.
himself.
Yeah, but uh, there's something transformative of just how he's managed to, win the Super Bowl last year. And then you watch this Chiefs teams play and you're like, Reed is just having his moment. His plays are flawlessly called. He's smart. He's reading the defenses. He's understanding the momentum. He's got that, kind of connection with his quarterback that is allowing him to excel. And so I don't see they're not going to be shook. They've been there
Mhm.
before. Patrick is he's ice. Like he's just there's no one there that I'm like, okay, to use a Lord of the Rings, reference, like where is the drain in the Helm's Deep wall, right? And I just don't see that it's there. So I think that they will be able to withstand it. And so I'm putting my dollars on the Chiefs. I don't even care if I lose money. I'm just betting on the Chiefs because, as I was saying before we got on the pod, was that for whatever the reason, Philadelphians, once our team's out, we tailor over to Kansas City. There's a bit of connection there with our coaches. Dick Vermeil coached us, went over to Kansas City. Now Reed, Kansas City. And then shout out to I won't recollect the name of the bar, but it's a big Kansas City Chiefs bar down in South Philadelphia. So there's something in the blood down here that it connects us with that city. So I do really hope that they continue, and I don't see anyone getting in their way besides themselves, and just one of those unfortunate games that can happen, right? Can erupt. We've
Mhm.
seen them happen before. But I'm gonna rock with the Braves going forward on those guys for sure.
Same with you there. I mean, nerdies, if you listen to us every week, every single time after time, every single week, I picked the Kansas City Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. A huge fan of Patrick Mahomes. I think he projects to be the greatest quarterback of all time. Him, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, who knows? Joe Montana should get love, but millennials and Gen Zs, that they're probably not gonna even remember who he is unless it's for YouTube. But Thank God for that algorithm there.
Or the
Um,
Water Boy, if anyone catches that reference.
yeah, for sure. And you know what, Travis? I think the nerdies are going to appreciate your Lord of the Rings and Ninja Turtle references. If anybody's going to appreciate it, it's our nerdy bunch audience. So thank you for always bringing it back to, uh,
Little pop culture
articulate.
references. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. A little, something
Metaphors for
generic.
days,
Not
baby. Metaphor for
generic. Definitely
days.
not. They're not going to hear that on ESPN or
No,
Fox
they're
Sports
not.
One anytime
They
soon.
ain't.
So that's what we're bringing them today. So yeah, I mean, Andy Reid finally got his chip, and he's been a guy knocking at the door, and I'm just going to root for that guy time after time. If the Eagles aren't in it, that's the team. Same with you. I know
Mhm.
that's what you say too. Even Shady McCoy, a big snow running back who just loves running in the snow. He's finally in Kansas City back with Andy Reid, and Sammy Watkins, unbelievable talent coming out of Clemson. They got a lot there. They got a lot there. I wouldn't bet against those boys, but it does concern me a little bit that they're struggling late. They're coming into the playoffs, limping in, barely beating teams, but at the end of the day, they're still 14-1, and they're going to start Chad Henne this week, and who knows, maybe they end up losing to the Chargers, but knowing the Chargers, that's likely not going to happen. Um,
Mm.
so definitely going with the Chiefs with the AFC all day, but the Buffalo Bills are exciting. They definitely are exciting. The Pittsburgh Steelers are definitely that team that has a good shot. Like we said, they went 11-0, lost a couple of games. Juju dancing on the logo in the center of the field. All of a sudden, everybody's trying to hunt for his head. And Coach Tomlin, if there's anybody that's going to challenge Andy Reid, it's Tomlin. And I'm definitely going to root for that matchup, Steelers Chiefs. If I really have to break it down, that's going to be my AFC Championship matchup. And they got a good shot at making the 3 seed. And what if they happen to have to face the Bills? Are you really going to pick the Bills over the Steelers? I don't care if the Steelers have been struggling slightly. They got
Bills
they got just
Mafia.
they got just as
He's
many
gonna whack you.
weapons.
Gonna get whacked by the
Go
Bills Mafia.
come for me, man. But I definitely got to go Steelers, Chiefs, AFC. Those teams are amazing at home. Same with the Bills, but that's what it's going to be. So the Bills have to fight. If we go down, I didn't even really think this too much. So the Steelers are going to play the Browns. Unfortunately, the Browns just lost to the Jets. So they're going to play at 1 o'clock, and the Browns really need that win just to make the playoffs. And because the Colts have a far superior percentage,
Is
I think
everyone
they're eighty
back from the
percent.
Browns? I mean, are they all cleared to go now? Does he get all the
They're
receivers
pretty
back?
healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, other than Odell, obviously, but I
right.
think they're pretty solid there. I just, if you lose to the Jets, are you really going to come back and beat the Steelers when the Steelers, even though who knows, like, because the Steelers aren't going to even start Ben. He had this amazing comeback performance last weekend, but Mason Rudolph's going to be their starter. So
Yeah, but the big question
who
is, can
knows there?
Baker handle the big moment? Good in
Yeah,
Oklahoma or
it's a
Indiana,
must
where
win.
Oklahoma, yeah. But
It's
can
a
he
must win.
handle the big? I mean, I think that Baker Mayfield is such an interesting quarterback because out of the multitude, and that's not even hyperbole, that is like multitude of quarterbacks that are in and out of that Browns franchise in the last decade. They're averaging like one a year, but
Yeah,
he is the guy. People love him. I had the opportunity to talk to a Browns fan. They're like, you know what? We love him and we acknowledge that he's not the pristine guy, but he's a good quarterback for what we need right now. You can tell that Baker really wants to win for this franchise. There's a couple quarterbacks that
yeah,
would look at their situation on the Browns or look at their situation in Cincinnati or the Jets, and they could look at it and be like, ugh, I just can't wait to get out of here. Baker seems to love being in Cleveland, and he seems to really own that Cleveland Browns. Whether that's the characteristic or not, I think he loves being in that, and he wants to get into the city. Um, Now that's the thing, though. Now I hold that to be it's admirable to see that, but it sometimes can be at a disadvantage because you start putting every play on the line, and you start
yeah,
saying, I have to make this. And coming from our own teams last season, or this season, is you
Hmm.
see how that's detrimental to the play call. You see how that's detrimental to your ability to pull off the plays. So it'll be interesting to see. I have no, I have no
Qualms.
qualms or prediction to see that
Yeah,
he can do it or not, but it will be interesting to see if Baker can, as they say, put the team on his back, but have that not be too much for him to carry.
definitely. I mean, so they're going to play the Steelers, and Tomlin's going to be hunting for him. He's prepared. He's seen him before. He knows exactly what to do. I don't think there's going to be any surprises. They know between Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, they got to run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, and
Mm-hmm.
barely rely on Baker. Maybe Baker throws 16, 20 passes. But then so this is where I kind of disagree with ESPN's FBI percentages. They have the Cleveland Browns at 52% chance to make the playoffs. And then they have the Colts currently in the eighth spot at 80% chance to win the playoffs or make the
Hmm.
playoffs. But, the Colts are going to play the Jaguars, who are right now locked in at that number one pick. So what they really got to play for. And then, the Browns are playing the Steelers. So that's where their percentages are going to lie. They see the Steelers as one of the best teams in the league, and the Jaguars is literally the worst team in the league. So, of course, their percentage is going to be heavily, favored towards the Colts. But if I have to pick a team that I actually want to see in the playoffs, I don't want to see Phil Rivers in the playoffs again. Like this, he's the most mediocre quarterback that's ever lasted 17 years I've ever seen. Like, it's just there's nothing special or exciting about him. Baker's at least polarizing,
Yeah.
and they got a lot of talent on that defense too, highlighted by Myles Garrett, one of the best defensive linemen in the game,
Mm-hmm.
coming for heads time after time. But for me, it's that run game, and they got to prove it. They just lost to the Jets. They had a cake matchup. They're like, all right, all we got to do is beat the Jets. The Jets, of course, they're going to look to win. You never look to lose, but this is not a team that's like actually putting together a team to hunt for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And the Browns finally got a shot. They got their first 10-win season in decades. They they should have won. Like, it's unbelievable what the Jets are doing at the end of the season. But it just proves that it doesn't matter who you put out there on the field; those players are going to want to win. And
Mm-hmm.
you see JJ Watt's press conference, and he's
Mm-hmm.
begging his team to just try. He's like, the fans care more than us. And I couldn't imagine being in a locker room, just seeing guys being like, oh, whatever, flipping around on TikTok, just like la di da, who cares? Yeah, we only got 4 or 5 wins. We're not going to make the playoffs, but like, you literally only have 2 guys on that team with Deshaun Watson and JJ Watt, like,
Mm-hmm.
actually want to be there. So I'll preach it all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
Nerdies, I want those boys out of town. The Texans are not a winning franchise, and those are winning players. I want to see greatness be appreciated. And if they went to a team like the Chiefs or the Steelers
Mm-hmm.
or even the Ravens, like, they would really appreciate
Mm-hmm.
them. I don't know where Watson could go. I didn't really think about that, but that boy just needs to go somewhere where he's gonna be worked on, appreciated for his God-given talents. But if I have to stick to the point of our conversation before, I got to go with the Browns. It's not logical. It's just more of who I would hope to see in the playoffs. Who would I want to see play the Steelers or the Bills?
Mm-hmm.
If the Steelers lose to the Browns, I think they're definitely not going to play the Browns in that first matchup. And so if the Browns happen to squeak into the playoffs, they would play the Bills. And I don't really see the Bills or Steelers losing to them, so maybe it doesn't mean too much for the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
But I know they're just going to go one win at a time. And if anything, Baker, like you said, is going to have too much pressure on his hands, and he wants it too much,
Yeah.
just as like Carson Wentz has forced it up too much. And
Yeah. Well,
I don't
that's
know.
where we sit at the end of this. So this is like two sports that come to mind.
Yeah.
The danger of the late season spoilers
Okay.
is in football, American football, and in European football and soccer.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
this is where pride can win you games. It just says, we're in our last stretch here, last game. And this is where you're going to find who owns the locker room, who is, showing their true colors at the end of the day. And this is all very like, this is
Yeah.
right off of the scripted press conference type stuff, but it does hold waters. Like, this is where you see who people who want to play football, frankly, professionally, make their money. This is where you see those guys that are going to be in the gutter, and those guys can inspire really aggressive, some really good upset football. And now the thing is like, when you look at the Cleveland Browns having to go up against the Steelers, there's obviously a huge rivalry there, and
Mhm.
so that they're going to be up for that. And if I'm tipping the scales, I'm going to go with the Browns because, again, Steelers, they're fine. They're going to rest. Ben's going
They
to
are
be
rested.
fine.
Yeah.
They got things to look forward to. They say they win, cool. If they don't, then we'll see what our second team kind of does here.
It's true.
So I think it's kind of back on Baker. It's like, hey, dude, you can go win this. You got to win it. You could also lose it for yourself. It's like, make the throws, get yourself a touchdown early, get those boys running, open it up, go out there and just bring it on home. Just like they say in Happy Gilmore, just send her home. Just send it home.
And if there's anything that happens with American football, it's that comeback right after a big blowout. When you lose to a
Mm-hmm.
team like the Jets, it happens time after time after time.
It's
Those
a thing.
teams come back and they upset. They just do this monster upset. So, yeah, I got to go with the Browns. Like, I get it. ESPN isn't going to factor in all that. Baker may not be the most talented, but that guy's a leader. And I see him commanding that offense. And if you can't beat Mason Rudolph and a team where the Pittsburgh Steelers, similar with the Chiefs, like they have shown so much weakness lately, you got to take advantage of the opportunity at hand. You may have lost last week to the Jets. You may have lost the easier path to victory. And if they happen to beat the Jets, this game would have actually been for the division title. So all of a sudden that's out of waters, but maybe the pressure was too hot. Maybe just, couldn't handle it. He's going to come back. He's working hard, that. And I'm going to actually root for Baker. I can't believe it. I've never been a huge fan, but thinking about it now as we work through it, I think I'm going to definitely be rooting for Baker Mayfield to
Yeah.
upset the Steelers this week. I got you
Why
there.
not?
So
Why not?
why not, right? I definitely don't want to see, as I said, I don't want to see the Colts in the playoffs. Like
No,
they got
it's
too
not good
much.
for ratings. It's not good for ratings.
I love storylines. I'm all about those
Yeah, that's
storylines.
why
But
we
when
watch sports. It's what it's all about.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want the Colts are going to be an automatic loss, whoever they face. For me, that's a team. If I talk about them real quickly, I've always been surprised by their lines. I'm always looking at betting lines. I just like numbers, and this is a team that's always been favored by like a field goal every single game. And I'm always questioning like, what is it about this team? They have a good
Mm-hmm.
offensive line. They have a couple of good receivers, but like even like T.Y. Hilton should be their number one guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's been hit or miss all year. Um, he was not a fantasy guy that you want to ride, but all of a sudden like
They're a
he'll
team
he'll have
though
a couple
that
of
could
pop
be,
games.
yeah, they're a team though that they could be, have that one year and then they get the right people in, because I think Frank Reich's very good at his job.
Yeah, very.
Obviously Philip Rivers is a placeholder. Like, they're trying to find Brissett. Is Brissett even on the team anymore? Is he hurt? What happened to him?
I
Anyway,
believe he is, but I have not seen him. And if
right?
if if he was showing anything in practice, Philip Rivers would be benched because that man has been hot garbage all year. Like he's been skipping rocks like Cam Newton. I can't believe another team that I'm just severely disappointed by this season is the New England Patriots.
Patriots.
But oh man, like if only they could like you, you run the ball, man. Like just run the ball. But this is a team that with the Patriots, talk about 'em real quick. They were going into the season. They had multiple players on defense opt out because of COVID protocols, and missing Tom Brady, of course, is going to be a storyline. But you had everything there. But I feel almost I'm thinking now, was Bill Belichick like, all right, we're going to sign Cam Newton because at the end of the day, if we do have a losing season, Jared Stidham's on me, but Cam Newton, he's got his own brand and he's going to get all the blame. So you
Mm-hmm.
got a guy with Cam that, it doesn't matter what we do. I would rather get a losing record. He wants to fight. You saw the ferocity on the sidelines when he went to go challenge a call and someone's like, yeah, definitely challenge. And all of a sudden, obviously he got it wrong. And he screamed at the mic, right into the Microsoft Surface, uh, right on the sideline. So you don't want to lose the game, but I don't know. I think it's nice to bring somebody in. You know, we're always going to go with the storylines. Bring somebody in with Cam Newton that's going to get a little bit of the blame there. But I feel like when it comes to most disappointing teams of the year for me, you know, skip ahead a little, I'll go with the San Francisco 49ers, the New
Okay.
England Patriots, and then the Baltimore Ravens. Who is who's your most disappointing team of the year outside of your Philadelphia Eagles?
Oh gosh. Well, I suppose you gotta give it to the San Francisco 49ers. You know, I was
Hmm.
like, unfortunately, another injury-ridden team. But that's just the name of the game. You know, it's
Yeah.
that is just what it is. And I guess that's what's disappointing about it. You know, and this goes along with any team that's been ridden with injuries. Is like you want to see what they are. You want to see the perfect. You know, you want to see Titans go off max power, right? You don't want to have excuses when you're sitting at the bar and they're saying like, yeah, well, we had our 15th offensive line through 16 weeks. You know,
Yeah.
it's like no, you want all of the pieces there, and you want to be able to look at the end of the day and be like, yeah, we beat you. We're just better than you. And that 49ers team was gunning, like they were. I think if you looked last year, like, all right, well, these guys are probably gonna see the same Super Bowl again next year. Maybe you see Lamar Jackson in there or whatnot, but like those teams are really, really good. So I'd have to say they're probably the most disappointing. And then, I don't claim to watch a lot of Houston games, but just since they shipped off Hopkins and then Bill O'Brien got
Hmm.
traded, and now it's just a dumpster fire. That's disappointing because that you always felt like they were just there, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, every single year JJ Watt would get hurt and you're like, ah, crap, it sucks. But they always felt like, okay, they could be there, but now it's just like, you're in the wilderness, dog. So I feel bad for them. Um, and I think that's probably it. I can't imagine. I mean, what else is disappointing besides just my own Eagles team? I mean, probably the most disappointing team in the NFL has to be the Eagles, because everyone else was just
Yeah.
expected
Yeah.
to be where they are. Eagles were here. People were like MVP season for Carson Wentz. And then, playoff team. I thought that, I was thinking like, hey, Carson, one thing we needed last year was speed, wide receivers. Well, we got that, and then from the get go, it's like, just dunzo. So that's just the cake. I'd be
Yeah.
hard hit to hear anyone's explanation why their team is more disappointing. Because if you come in thinking your team's going to be bad, then you're not disappointed, right? So
True.
shout out all you
Well,
Jags fans. No offense, but it's like, what are you going to do, right? We were sitting here
nah.
being like, hey, we could have a team, and whew, not the
Yeah.
case.
Yeah. Yeah, they were projected to win the division preseason. But, you know, for me, if I have to look at the numbers, that's why I went the Ravens and the 49ers, because these were two teams that were projected to make the Super Bowl. The 49ers aren't even close. But real with injuries for sure. And I feel like every other day they got a new running back in there. And even like Jeff Wilson Jr., he's sitting there. He's able to put it together, put up, I think, 180 yards or something last week. Like, it, dominating performance with Kittle in. But that's it. Like, George Kittle's out, and they're just a whole different offense. And
Mm-hmm.
this is a team that made the Super Bowl last year. And when I went into the season, I'm looking at Chiefs, Ravens, Saints, 49ers. And so the Saints are still there, Chiefs are still there. The Ravens may be a little disappointing, but instead of like a 14-2, they're at a 10-5 with the
Mm-hmm.
possibility of missing the playoffs if like it shakes up with, you know, the Browns making it and the Colts making it and the Dolphins and the Titans making it. But I think 49ers for sure were my number one most disappointing team this year.
I'd have to
I
say the
just,
Minnesota Vikings were pretty disappointing also.
okay,
They've been declining since 2017. They looked like they were going to be a team that could do really well. That being said, Justin Jefferson's an absolute freak of nature, so you can't be too
right?
disappointed there. But just overall, the Vikings in general, I don't think they don't. What are they right now?
No, that is true. That's a hot garbage defense, though. And like, there's so
Hot.
many teams. Like, literally, they let Alvin Kamara score 6 touchdowns, tying an NFL record for most rushing touchdowns to, I don't even know his name right now, but some guy in like 1930, where
Yeah,
like
it's like in the
all,
20s or something.
yeah, all they did was run. And like, you know, you got checked down Sally over here with Drew Brees can't throw it deep because he's old. Going to playoffs, like that's a team. All right, let's. I think we wrapped up with the AFC a little bit. We got Dolphins. They don't know if they're going to start Tua or Fitz. Ravens, a little disappointing, but probably going to make it. Maybe win a game or two. The Bills, hot, but probably we're not really thinking is going to actually make a run. The Steelers struggling. Chiefs struggling, but we're going to see them in the AFC Championship game. Then Tennessee, 10-5, maybe make the playoffs, maybe not. And relying on Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, Ryan Tannehill, and a hot garbage defense. So I think we're good with the AFC. Let's roll a little more to the NFC. We already talked a little bit about the NFC East, or NFC least to be more accurate. We're looking at the Giants to do that upset pick. We got Washington to get the highest projection rating to win the division, but if they happen to lose versus the Eagles, then they're not going to make it. So let's go Giants there, so they can play the Bucks in round 1. That would be a nice little matchup there. And then we got two of the best teams in the league. We got the Saints and the Seahawks. For me, up and down all year, but they're still right now, they got both of them about a 70% chance to get the 2 seed and the 3 seed. Right now, you got Packers 1, Saints 2, Seahawks 3. And those are my teams when it comes to it. At the end of the day, they're great at home. The Saints may not have an amazing home record, but they lost Drew Brees to multiple rib fractures and a punctured lung. And their defense has been up and down, where they were projected into the season to be the NFC East, NFC Championship team to face the Chiefs. So who do you see the Packers making it clear way to be the NFC champions, or do you see the Saints or the Seahawks contending with them?
I don't see it to be a clear trip to the Super Bowl for the Packers. If the Packers, it seems like Rodgers is clicking with the offensive scheme this year. The offseason they talked about what works well. And I think that that's a great recipe for success. And I like we were saying with Baker, if it's resting on Rodgers, I'm going to choose Rodgers, right? So I think that's the best thing they got going. Plus they get the first round bye. Going to be hosting like Lambeau in the cold. Easy, right? Especially if whoever has to go up there, if they're a Southern team, like pretty hard to even win in any cold temperature. You're going up to Lambeau, which is basically going beyond the wall to go play football. You got to make sure that you can be well prepared for that. I think that the one thing that's always rested with the Saints is they always are just so. The moment's never too big for them, right? I mean, when you think about the most upsetting loss for the Saints was the miracle catch by Diggs in Minnesota, when that happened and that got him out with just an absolute whirly-bird of an ending. But short of Drew Brees getting injured and Taysom Hill having to go in, you got Alvin Kamara, arguably the best player in the league all around, like just having an unreal season right now. And Drew Brees is not going to be, the moment's not going to be too big for Drew, and well coached, and they always remind me of like the German international soccer team. You just know they're like a machine, just like they're going to go in with like Terminator style, efficiency, and if it wins, it wins, right? And if it doesn't, then they're not going to change up on anything. They're just going to beat you. They're just going to, they know what they do well, and they're just going to beat you.
Right.
The
How
Seahawks,
do you prepare for that? Absolutely. Sorry to cut you off
a
second,
but I don't know how you do.
They're just like Bayern Munich. Like, absolutely. Like, they're just an absolute machine. You got Kamara.
They're going to tell you how they're going to beat you. They're going to be like, look, I'm going to hit you with my right hand, and then they're going to hit you with the right hand. It doesn't matter if you try to dodge it or not. Like, that's just who they are. They could use
Taysom Hill as a backup quarterback. Even, who knows, maybe Jameis Winston makes a shine in the playoffs. Like, they got the best third string quarterback you could absolutely dream about, and they made it work even with Taysom Hill. And Taysom Hill is the most flexible player you'll ever see. They're just so exciting. And you got Cam Jordan on defense. You got some of the best cornerbacks in the game. Oh my
Oh, yeah,
God! Like
Malcolm Jenkins back there finding a revival role in his, you know, in his
absolutely.
Sunday, you know, in his sunset march, you know, to being a Hall of Famer. Like he's it seems to be clicking. I think that they are like the juggernaut. Like you can take them down. You're just gonna have to
Yeah.
be better for them for 4 quarters because they're gonna give you exactly what you think is gonna happen, and they're like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's like, yo, I'm gonna swish on you, and then boom, they're gonna swish on you, right? Like you can beat Michael Jordan, but you need everyone to come out and play better than him.
You need to hit them hard, just as the
Yeah.
Pistons did. And like, yeah, you got the Saints. If they go into Lambeau, it's cold, it's snowing. They don't care about their regular season record. You got a team that, you may think a shifty running back like Alvin Kamara may not be able to run in the snow, but we've seen Shady McCoy
Mm-hmm.
absolutely dominate because if you know where you're going and your defender doesn't know where you're going, you got that advantage there. And you got Mike Thomas, one of the most reliable receivers. His catch percentage is unbelievable, and that defense can hunt. And if you put a little pressure on Aaron Rodgers, that would be fun. Oh man, I would
Yeah.
much rather see that than the Seahawks, to be honest, because the
Because you know what the one thing about the
yeah,
Packers is? Here's the one thing
okay.
about the Packers. They can lose at home.
Hmm.
You know, Lambeau is it's a home field advantage type thing, but they can lose at home, and it's
Hmm.
been shown they can lose at home. You know, going down to the Superdome in New Orleans is a lot harder, I think, picking up a win than going to Lambeau Field. Now, Lambeau is again going to be very cold, so I think that inherently puts an advantage to the team that will be playing, practicing there. You know, like the Saints will come up there, they'll have a week of practice in the snow, all well and good. But like you said, there's a big difference of catching a ball for a week in the snow and then having caught the ball for like 3 months in the snow. So again, I'm not taking it away from the Packers. That if that comes to pass, I'd probably still back the Packers. Um,
Yeah.
but they are not they are not immortal when it comes to uh, Lambeau Field.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Aaron Rodgers has one championship. Drew Brees has one championship. Is that correct?
I know Aaron does. Let me check up Drew.
I'm
I'm
pretty
pretty
I'm
sure
pretty
Drew
sure
only
Drew's
has
got
one
one.
too.
Check that while I'm talking here. So we got Marshawn Lattimore, one of the best cornerbacks in the game. He went to the Ohio State University. If you're gonna beat the Packers, stop that run game, stop Aaron Jones, and then stop Devontae Adams. Now these are two of the best players in the game. But if you got a defense that could actually make it happen, you got Cam Jordan, you got Malcolm Jenkins, you got Marshawn Lattimore. Those guys can limit those two players. So honestly, I didn't think of this pre-podcast, but as we're talking, as we're flowing here, I got the Saints. I'm still rolling with
Mm.
them. That was my preseason. My preseason pick was Saints Chiefs. And let's do it again. I already got money on the Chiefs. So let me put some extra money on the Saints here
I
as we're
support it.
thinking about it a little more. Yeah,
I
I see
support it.
them I see them making this happen. Um with the
And Drew
so
Brees is
did
only a
they
one-time champion.
yeah, and Rodgers won as well, right? So
Hmm.
they're both
Hmm.
looking for their second championship. Um Josh Allen obviously hasn't really won many playoff games, so he would be looking for his first. Big Ben Roethlisberger looking for another championship, and Patrick
Hmm.
Mahomes already's got one under his belt. So definitely rooting for Packers, Saints, and then Chiefs, Steelers. We figured it out. I'm glad we got here, nerdies. But those are the teams. We're not looking for upset picks to make some flashy picks just because maybe the Giants got a chance, maybe Washington football teams got a chance purely based on defense. But
Hmm.
if I'm gonna bet on previous success for previous seasons, good coaching, you got to go with Sean Payton, New Orleans Saints, Andy Reid, Kansas City Chiefs, Mike Tomlin, Pittsburgh Steelers, and then can Matt LaFleur, a new coach who
Hmm.
has shown a lot. That offense is humming. Can he do it? Another little tickle in the game right here. Like
Yeah.
you got Sean Payton's got a lot more success, a lot more in that brain. He's got so many play calls that he could possibly put out there, and you don't know what to prepare for with that offense. They're just going to run down your throat, and maybe dink and dime. You get the pressure, snow, slip, boom, done. Alvin Kamara touchdown. And
Hmm.
so my bet, Chiefs win the championship, Saints make it to the Super Bowl, and like I said, Packers and Steelers being the runner-ups in their conferences. Do you disagree with me in any way there? Or you're going with
I
Packers
don't.
maybe to make the Super Bowl?
You know what? I'm probably just going to go with the Packers because I do believe in that little
Hmm.
advantage,
Hmm.
and that's about it. Because I think the
Yeah,
points you brought up were super solid. And I think that they all stand at face value. Um, and honestly, you know what? The only upset I could see is like Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf just have a game and start throwing narratives off. But I think that we've got ourselves a pretty
yeah,
good picture board right now. And I
yeah.
tell you, if it goes that way, drama is going to happen. And there's so many great narratives. You got a little bit of the old guard mixed in with the new guard. You got a changing of the tides, the first Belichickless, playoff. And so I'm here for it. If this is the way we're going to end this season, that's a well worthwhile postseason right there.
Absolutely agree, man. I think that's a good way to wrap this podcast off.
Yeah.
All right, nerdies. I hope you really enjoyed, what we had to bring to you today. We brought you a lot of stats, a lot of emotional picks, and God rest our souls. Hopefully, the Eagles can win one more game just to make sure that the Washington football team does not make the
Yeah, if they don't, you
playoffs.
won't hear from me for like another. You'll hear from me in 2022.
Absolutely. And as always, Travis,
Oh, been waiting for a while for this. Keep it nerdy.
keep it nerdy, boys.